Hey, everybody. Welcome to AI for Anyone Live. I am Tim Lucky, and I'm so excited to kick off our series, AI for Anyone Live. This is a free production by the Human Stack, and I'm so excited to be joined here by Sammy Zoss. And Sammy and I are doing this together. Sammy, thank you so much. It's great to have you. Welcome to AI for Anyone Live.
Thank you. I'm super pumped to be here. Anytime we can talk and nerd out about the stuff we're doing, I'm pretty much down.
Absolutely. And I wanted to start by talking about why we're focused on Gemini. So for the next, I think it's for the next 12 weeks, we're going to be doing this every week and just talking about one other feature that you can do in AI with Gemini. And so I wanted, because you've been kind of a tutor to me about Gemini and you got me in it first, I feel like it's appropriate for you to talk about why we're starting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's probably also important to note that there's so much still left to be explored, and that's what we're hoping to do in this first season is really get in and explore. So important to note for everyone that we're going to talk like we know a lot about the stuff that we're doing, but we're learning it kind of right along everybody too. And that's kind of what you and I love most, Tim, about working together. It's just like, let's get in and play. Let's figure it out. And that's kind of how I stumbled upon Gemini. And at the time, I didn't quite even realize like that's what I was using. I was using a tool called Notebook LM. And I'd actually discovered it through a mutual colleague of ours, Nathan Chappell, who is one of the co-founders of Fundraising AI. And he just mentioned that he's had, three, he called them holy crap moments in tech. And one was the .com boom. One was when ChatGPT sort of just first came out as open source. And then the last was Notebook LM. And it was because of this audio feature that we're going to be talking about today. And so while there's so many like use cases for Gemini and Notebook LM and all of these different things, one of the coolest pieces of Notebook LM is this audio overview and how I just see it as such an opportunity to like give users a way to sort of like produce their content differently, right? And what's the reason why Nathan put it as one of his, top 3 holy crap moments was because one, it was the speed at which it came. So the .com boom to ChatGPT was a decent amount of time, not to date you all.
Why is it us all?
Not me.
Yeah. What?
I don't remember the .com boom, okay. So it is you
all.
Then
that's fair. Fair enough. All right, cool. That fits.
You have no idea. But it was also because of how this was the first time I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it was basically the first time he'd heard such realistic sounding production value from AI. Yeah. And of course, what's ironic about that is today, now we know there's even just in the last, 3-4 months, that production quality across the board in AI has just skyrocketed. Right. But it's important to note that Notebook LM absolutely was doing it first.
Oh, 100%. And it isn't, I mean, so when I first heard it, and I think Nathan, me, Josh Hirsch, a lot of us were really excited and sending messages back and forth. Josh Hirsch used it to open his AI Dude podcast. I just think it's great the way people have put that to work. And it was the first time that you could hear 2 AI characters going back and forth. I thought it was especially interesting if you heard them kind of mess up, which was rare, right? Like it's kind of funny when they hallucinate verbally, but it doesn't happen that much, which is why it's kind of funny. So, and it was the first one that climbed out of the uncanny valley, right? The audio uncanny valley. And you really could picture these people being on like the Today Show or whatever, right?
Well, absolutely. I remember I was actually working with a friend at the time, and she's written a book. Her name's Lisa Greer. She's written 2 books, and both on philanthropy, and one of them was before the pandemic. And so what I did, I was like, I want to see what this does, right? And so I literally just put her book in, her first book, not her second one, and said, tell me, it's called Philanthropy Revolution. So it's basically, tell me how this is still relevant today, what we've learned since, sort of like give me that overview, right? And then I didn't tell her this was AI. I downloaded that audio, and of course we've got so it's a woman and a man for those of you who haven't played with this yet. And they're like, we've got piles of research around us, so like let's dig in. Like, you really thought that these were just humans in the back? And she sent me a back like, did Christmas come early? Do I need to send, I don't know. She was like, I need to send somebody like gifts and accolades. Like, who is this? Where is this posted? And I was like, now I feel kind of bad. Like, this isn't posted. Right. This is me testing out AI tools, but think about how awesome this is and how we can use tools like this. So it just opened my mind so quickly to how you can use this to really expand on and hear from a voice that isn't yours or a voice that isn't within your organization, different parts of your org, right? So today we're talking about impact, and I'll be able to hear it from somebody that isn't actually in my organization. So they're sort of talking on behalf of us, but they're pulling out pieces that they see as the priority. They see like AI is seeing as the main points. I may not have known that. I may not have realized like we're overemphasizing this or underemphasizing what we think is the most important piece of our mission. So it's also a really good like temperature check tool.
Absolutely. So we're going to dig in, and Sammy, you've done so much work on this by creating an entire fake org called Impact Me Foundation. I had the name a long time ago, but you just went and like redocked the entire thing, which is so cool. And we should probably do a show sometime on how you did that, because you did all of that with AI. For those of you that want to follow along, if you click on this code right here, it'll take you to Notebook LM. It's just notebooklm.google.com. That's how you get there. And we're going to start at the top and just show you this week what you can do with Notebook LM. Next week, we're going to come back and show you how to build it from the ground up. So this week is kind of just show and tell what you can do with it. Next week, come back and we will be talking about how you gather the files to put this all together. Okay, so let's dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to say really quickly before we do that, Tim, anyone on LinkedIn, please continue with the comments. We're live, and so we can see those. We can stop what we're doing and address them or anything in between. So just want to highlight, it's my favorite thing to do to like completely troll you in the comments when I'm not on your lives, to just like start that, because I know that you can see them.
Okay, speaking of trolling, by the way, speaking of trolling, everyone should know about this. This morning, we're doing a pre-show, and I'm like, hey, we should hop in. And Sammy says, please give me 5, please. So I gave you 5, please, right there. And I just want to say, like, this is the kind of stuff I live for. Like, this is what like gets me out of bed in the morning. That and the really important missions that we all do and all of that. But there's that as well. So
our texts are wild like that, though. I feel like the only responses we get are you trying to make some joke that I'm not getting right away, or me sending you different AI prompts.
Oh yeah, the AI roasting stuff is just great too. Yeah, totally. I love that. I love that. Okay, let's dive in.
Anyway,
so we're going to be sharing Sammy's screen. What you're going to be seeing here is Notebook LM, and you can get there. I didn't even say this, and I probably should. The reason that we're working with Gemini is that there really are 2 choices for most organizations. If you're a Microsoft shop, you're probably going to need to go with Copilot as your base model of AI tools. And if you're in the Google suite, you're probably going to need to go with Gemini, because that's the base model and it integrates with a lot of apps. There's so much you can do with it. So that's why we're talking about Gemini. Also, it's 75% off for nonprofits. It's like a huge, huge discount. So anyway, with that background, Sammy, dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Tim said, and honestly, we would love if you're watching this live or if you're watching it later, comment on the LinkedIn if you have any questions about how we set something up, because like he said, we're going to do sort of the how we set this up next week. So as you can see, I've already done it twice. We'll just do it right again next week. And so we'll show you all of that. So please, all the questions you have, let us know. But I just came here to this, to notebooklm.google.com. I've pre-created our Impact Me Foundation organizational notebook. And I'll after the live, I'll pop in and I'll actually add in, and next week I'll show sort of some of the overlays. I would have thought about it. I used AI to even create like the building of Impact Me Foundation. Like I had a lot of fun with building out this organization and what it looks like. But just to give you a really quick overview, again, we'll go into this a little bit more in depth next week. But before I really dive, I really want to emphasize, and Tim, this is something I've emphasized with our group in the Upskillerator, and just sort of when I'm demoing this tool in particular, I think it's really important to note that Notebook LM at its core is meant to be a notebook. It is meant to be a learning vehicle. And that doesn't mean that we can't use it for other things like we're doing today. But I think as you're exploring Notebook LM and its capabilities and what it can do for you, it's really, really important to emphasize that it is set up to be an educational tool. Mm-hmm. So this audio overview we're using today is set up. If you think about back in your college days or your high school days, if I would have been able to load all of my notes into here, the audio overview is essentially meant to take all of those notes together and create exactly what it sounds like, an audio overview, or sometimes they'll call it a deep dive of the information in the contents of your notebook. And so it's basically for those of us that learn in different ways, right? Tim and I, we always joke, like we've got lots of neurospicy between the two of us. And there are times that like I drive so much, like I do overnight drives and I do crazy travel. And I'm like, I need to fill that time because there's just this innate need into like using my time better, which is probably a whole nother topic for us
at some point. Day. Absolutely.
But what I love is like Notebook LM allows me to learn, to grow, to like do new things on those drives, right? Like great example, I'll prep a notebook for a couple different topics I want to learn. And then I'll use this audio overview on my drives and really just get to learn either an organization I want to learn or a concept or what have you. So at its core, I say that just to like continually remind people, at its core, this is absolutely meant to be a learning tool, learning vehicle. But what I love about it, and like many technologies today, it's versatile. We can use it in many different ways. When I first discovered Notebook LM and when I first introduced it to Tim, it was like under the guise of how we teach people to like scale onboarding, right? Which is another topic we can present on in Notebook LM in the future.
And I'll be honest, when it first came out, right, I like loaded up my whole AI for Anyone course. I threw it in there and it gave me an amazing like rundown on it. Really cool. Trampoline model. They got all of it. It was great. But I really did not see a business case for it. And I think that I think this is one of the most important things here is learning is knowledge transfer. And so in your organization, don't think of this as the thing that you're going to use to, to show all of your constituents or your donors or something like that. Think of this more as an internal place where you can do knowledge transfer. This could be a place like an SOP hub. This could be the place that you are, focused on one particular grant and you just need to have everybody on the same page with it. It doesn't replace your, data storage tools for that kind of thing. What it does is that it gives 100%. You a picture of what's happening with it so you can quickly digest it. So it is always a learning tool, and that's what its core function is. So I think there's a lot of business uses for it.
Yeah, it just took a little to figure those out. And I think that's like the knowledge transfer is really one of those big ones. As you're thinking about your organization, especially our nonprofits, right? How you share information is key. Another limitation I do want to highlight before I really dig in is that as of right now, you can't share a notebook outside of your domain or your organization. So for example, Tim is the only other one that has access to this because he's got a Human Stack email. I built it on the Human Stack, on my Human Stack email. And so only the two of us can share it right now. I couldn't, I would have loved to be able to just put this in the link and share it with everybody on LinkedIn. And I think that's coming. I'm sure there's a version of that coming for Notebook LM. But they're more worried about how to make sure that that data stays private and in a workspace. Because all of the data that we have in here, like it's not training Gemini, it's not going out into the world. It's just as secure as if I put something in the Google Drive. And so that's why there's some limitations still there. And I bet, Tim, by the time we're done with this season, there will be either some sort of access externally or some sort of big change with Gemini that we're going to be like, all right, everybody, lesson number whatever it was, we're going to quick revisit it because something's changed. And that's just the nature of the field today, right? Like the industry today.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I think that that's right. I also, I don't know that they're going to do that. I think the closest parallel I found to Notebook LM is projects in Claude or in ChatGPT. Yep. And in those areas, you know, you still have the issue of how do I share those internally with our team? Yeah. That's kind of the cutover on Notebook LM. And it was here first. And I didn't think of it as a project. It just is really strange that like, I just didn't think of it that way. So yeah, knowledge distribution. This is like a focused knowledge distribution hub. Okay. All right. Without further ado, hop in and show us.
Yes. This. All right. So like Tim said, I went ham one day on AI. And so we'll like he said, I do think that'd be a fun, like, let's show people how we built this and how you can, I would argue that there's some, I did not put much human into this after that, right? Like I let it create it and I copied it over, which is not what we would recommend if you're doing it for your actual organization. I want to be very clear about that. So we built out the Impact Me Foundation, and that's sort of like the demo foundation that Tim and I use. And those of us, the rest of us at the Human Stack, just sort of use as our demo. And so I've got it looks like 27 different sources that you can put in here, or that I did put in here. And depending on the type of Notebook LM subscription you have, you can add more. But really quick, sort of anatomy of what we're looking at here is over on the left side, we've got all of the sources, and I can sort of hide that bit. No big deal. So it doesn't take up screen really more than anything. On the right is where we're going to focus most of today, which is on the studio. In here is actually where it acts sort of just like your regular generative LLM chat, where you can chat with the documents and the knowledge, all of the knowledge bases together, though. That's what's awesome, or all of the sources together as one knowledge base, which is what's really awesome about that. We'll get into that another day. But what I want to really focus on today, and unfortunately I can't make it any bigger, so I can't like minimize the chat screen, unfortunately, is the studio. And we're gonna look at this audio overview, but I want to really quickly call out that you can add your own notes as if it's a notebook, right? And then you can actually store those. You can even convert those over to sources in the future. But it can create a study guide, a briefing doc, FAQ, and timeline. So I've actually done that with a few of these. So we've got our core principles here. Let me pull over. Like you can just see it's just super simple, right? Like it just makes those as notes, nothing crazy. So this is like when I clicked timeline, this is the foundation's timeline of main events, which I don't know about you, Tim, but like the nonprofits, when I like my past foundation work, if I could have put all of our docs in there and had it help me put,
right?
If I could have had it help me put all of our timeline together like this, oh my goodness, the time it would have saved me.
Okay, Carla just asked something, and hi, Carla. I don't know why I can't see your comments in Restream right now, but I can't. So I just noticed your comment on LinkedIn, and I wanted to call it out because I think that it's a really good point here. What about if you're running Dropbox, or this comes up with other people we're working with where they're using Box or Dropbox, and so the ownership on drive files is a little bit weird. So yeah, do you know how to handle that? Can you add something from the side in like what's the like as a standalone document?
So here's really quickly. You couldn't load directly from Dropbox. It would have to be essentially from your files on your computer, What's extra sticky about Google, and I do kind of love the sass in this, is that you couldn't load it as like a Word doc. You'd actually, like, they don't allow a Word, like any Microsoft product, basically, which I think is funny. I'm sure it's annoying and it's frustrating for me sometimes.
If you've got a docx file in your drive, will it allow that, or are you saying no?
I don't know. Let's test that out and report back next week.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I have no idea.
But you can upload directly. You don't have to go through your drive, right? So
you can copy text, you can upload directly, and that'll take TXT Markdown or PDFs. You can also put in like websites. So I highly suggest people quite literally link the website.
Does it crawl the whole site, or is it just per page?
It's just per page. So if you want specific ones, you'd have to put those in. So for your larger organizations, I think that's an important clarifier.
Right.
I joked with Tim that I want to create an Impact Me Foundation website so I can do this.
What other thought, Carla, on this would be, and this might not, it just depends on your data privacy policies on how you're using Dropbox. But if you have Dropbox in a way that is on your local drive as well, then you could upload from there. And I think PDFs will work, but Microsoft files will not, unless you, well, we're going to find out, unless you go through a shared drive. So
I bet if you load them up into your drive, I bet it just converts it into a Google Doc and then pulls it over. We'll have to see. I haven't seen this Discover Sources, so I wanted to see what it.
Interesting. Is that new?
Yeah.
Right. Is that just like web search?
So I was looking at
like it's like deep research, or not deep search, but like
it must
search
be.
That's on.
So if we're in this ad sources, this is new. This Discover Sources up here. So it just said something you want to learn about, or I'm feeling curious to explore a new topic.
Okay, great.
Let's see what it says, huh? Tell me about the human stack. First one, Tim Lockey, crazy man, loves dad jokes.
There you go. Awesome.
Wouldn't that be something?
I know. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, look at that.
All right.
It's like you could, I mean, it's pulling in all sorts of, that's crazy. So then it looks like you could just straight up import those right into your sources if you wanted.
That is really cool.
So again, if you think about it in the lens of like an education tool, this is awesome.
Absolutely. And once it's in, so the very first step is just pulling everything in, and then it acts a little bit like a RAG model, right? Retrieval augmented generation.
You want to remind me what RAG even means? Because I know the answer to that is yes, but I forget what RAG stands for every time.
Retrieval augmented generation. And I would forget that all the time for months. And now because I'm actually building these out in the background in architecture now, it sticks a little bit more, but it basically means, and Carla mentioned onboarding as a great use of this. When you onboard a new person, they already know like a general amount of everything, but they don't know about your organization. And once they know more about your organization, like as coworkers are onboarded and start doing more work and understand, they learn the ropes, then emails that they write they are retrieving your knowledge base information, right? They're augmenting what they know about the rest of the world, and they're generating content from that. So that's all that our RAG model is doing. It's just retrieving this specialized knowledge base information that's not accessible to the rest of the world. And then it's using that to augment what it knows. And then it's generating mixed content between those two. So.
Well, that's why I asked you to remind me what RAG stands for, because I know that every time you say it, it makes it make more sense. Right? The retrieval in the in the acronym just makes it make so much more sense. And Carla, maybe we'll write into this season a demo of that onboarding, because there's no reason I couldn't show essentially that same version of this. And I do think from a nonprofit perspective, being able to use this as a resource for onboarding is huge. So I'd love to do that. I was pulling up the chats too, just to see if we'd missed anything. So
okay, so you've loaded up everything into sources, right?
Loaded up everything,
and people already have this all over their drive and their desktop and everything. So Like you got to pull it all together. You
Yes.
just put it right here. And then what can you do with it?
Put it right here. So like I said, we can kind of build out some of these documents here. We can get in and chat with it as well, sort of just like your regular old Chat GPT project or Claude project, where you're really just trying to understand more about the information in the knowledge base, right? So it's got some samples here. So what key principles guide our internal ops, external partnerships, and ethical use of technology? As you can tell, Impact Me Foundation is built somewhat loosely around the framework of the human stack. And so pulled in, I giggle at some of this because I'm like, there's literally no people at Impact Me, but tell me more about how people are first. But I'm like, it's great.
Before you go on,
I'm
one thing that would
communicating
help, can you close the right-hand window side? Is that
the
possible?
studio. Yep.
Okay, cool. I
Absolutely.
thought that would make the text bigger, but this is still helpful.
Nope,
So
nope.
this right here is like a chat bot now, right?
We're
It's like
ready
a
soon.
chat bot of everything that you knew. Oh yeah, that's perfect.
There
That's
we
really
go.
good.
Just zoom.
And what are those three buttons at the top? Sorry, can you go back up to those?
These?
Nope. Scroll up just a little bit more. Right there. Add note, audio
Yep.
device, and mind map. Okay, those are studio things. Is that right?
Yep, I'll get into those when I pop over to
cool.
the studio really quickly, because I add note is very exactly what you were just we were just talking about a second ago. So that's really just adding your own notes. And then if I wanted to convert it to a source, that button just lives right
Got
down
it.
here.
Okay.
So if I wanted to add, again, thinking about it as an educational tool,
yeah.
if I wanted to add notes about today's lesson, right? I do that and then I'm like, okay, I feel really good about this. I'm going to actually just convert it to a source. So that way I'm constantly retrieving information from this.
Let's walk through that process again, because I think this is really important. So let's say, so you're going to start chatting. Nope, not in this window, but on the other one. So you're interacting with stuff. So you want to say, like at the bottom, let's say you're getting onboarded and you just say, what's the mission of Impact Me, right? And how does it relate to my role as a volunteer coordinator? I think probably program director is more likely than a volunteer coordinator at a foundation, but whatever. We'll do either. Yeah. Okay, great. Program director. All right.
I love my spelling.
I love that AI doesn't care how you spell anything. Okay.
All right. So
good.
Welcome to the team, right? So I literally just said, I just started. It's like, welcome to the team. We're so excited to have you. Let's start let's get you grounded and explain how your role connects, which I think is really important. It's clear that the documents are all saying that we are connected. So it's even pulling the mission in how it communicates with you and it's trying to pull the vibe of the resources, which is awesome. So our mission is to build more equitable, human, and joyful systems, to partner. And we believe equity is a system design choice, not a requirement for compliance, right? Awesome mission. Pulled it out really well. One thing I haven't noted, Tim, these little bits, it's more common now, but this wasn't as common when Notebook LM was built. But this actually shows you exactly where it's pulling this information from your knowledge.
It's just pulling up. That is literally sourcing and citing where it's from.
Right in there.
Very
cool.
Cool.
So again, think if you're trying to write something out and cite your sources and things like that, you could literally have it scan that and say, help me cite from the knowledge base where I got this information, all that good stuff. So in how your role as program director relates to that mission, right? So you're going to oversee projects that directly impact our partners. Your job, is that building human systems, fostering equity. I mean, this is awesome, right? Collective impact. It's clear that it's really capturing the essence of that mission in how it's even explaining it right back to the end user.
So let's talk reg for a second on this too. Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, I should be sorry to interrupt you. I know, exactly. So just to go back to that, it's retrieving information from the left, the left-hand side of the screen with the sources, right? So it's pulling all of this information. You can see that. And then it's augmenting what it knows, because there's nothing about a program director in the left sources, right? So it's
there might be.
Did you? Okay. Well, somewhere. If there wasn't, right, then what that's doing is it's pulling what it knows about foundations and about program director job descriptions from a lot of other sources, and it's augmenting what it knows about program directors with the mission of Impact Me. So retrieving, augmenting, and then it's generating that script of, welcome to the team and here's the mission and here's how it applies to you, right? Without a job description is just making that up because it is augmenting what it knows about program directors. And that's what makes this so powerful, is the added context of here's all the stuff that you now know, and augment what you know about, the rest of the world. Okay. So you've created this. Now this doesn't exist as a source anywhere, right? So to your note thing.
So if I wanted to save this specific chat as a note, because I'm like, maybe I don't want to add it as a source, but I really want to be able to reference this again. How does my job tie back to mission? I'm going to save it as a note. And that you saw it automatically popped over here to the studio and it showed right here. I could delete it if I don't want to use it later. I can come back.
No, but now you want it. Now you can convert it to a source so it's reusable by everybody, right?
Yep.
That is just so wild.
But important to note, once you save a note, you can't actually edit it anymore. Like, so it clarifies it here, but like I can't edit this. I could copy it, type it in a new note and start editing. But then I can click right here, convert it to source, and then it's going to start. The RAG model will run on that as well. So, it is a super powerful tool to learn something quickly and then continue to like compound that knowledge in it, if that makes sense.
Okay. So we talked about an impact report, right? And creating an audio book for that. Can we just start here and just like put together an impact report from this screen right here? Can you start do you start a new chat? Do you just continue on the same one? Like what happens with that?
One second, let me zoom back out so I can see it in a way that I'm a little more used to it. If you'll
that's fine.
Give me a moment to do that. Let me hit back. It like weirdly.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Okay. So if I hit refresh, you can actually clear your chat history.
Okay, good.
So I'm just going to clear that for now. And that's where like, it doesn't do that automatically, but if you do want to save your chats, that's where saving it as a note is really important to do. So I want to, really simple prompting, which is not exactly what I would teach, right? But to give you a good start, I want to create an impact report for the supporters and supporters of and volunteers with Impact Me.
And while you're talking about that, I want to just make a note here. This is not instead of a tool like Cadenza, by the way. So if you're Zach tuning in, I want to be really clear. What this is for is your team.
We're coming for you.
It would be Google, not us, first of all, but we're also not. So, but I feel like what's so important is to note this is how you get your team to understand what's going on with an impact report or with the programs that you're doing. Cadenza is a whole different tool that converts that to actual end user, like send and share published reports. So I just want to be clear, like that's what the use case is here. Internal. Cadenza is an external facing. And if you don't know about Cadenza, it's a great tool. So all right. Now it's generated this.
Okay. So it's generated our just where should I start, right? Which I think is a really good point. Like, don't always ask for the end result right away. Ask for it to help you get started in it, because then you can understand its logic. You can understand how you might migrate its logic elsewhere. So if it's focusing over here and you want it to focus over here, it allows you to do that ahead of the game. Some of that stuff. So it gave us a lot of things to focus on, right? Like share these insights, not just updates, that goes back to your point, Tim, of it's taking what it knows and understands about foundation and nonprofit work and saying, don't just share numbers or don't just share updates, share like actual impact, share actionable information that your donors and supporters will resonate with. And that's not written into the sources by any means. And then just kind of reminding, I love that it's like, because I've got a KPI dashboard in there for both like internal and I think for clients of Impact Me Foundation, whatever that looks like. And I love that it's pointing like, where are we at as an organization, right? And if we are, how can we use that even at like our internal metrics? How do we use that to show
Yep.
impact? I mean, it's really trying to give you as many ideas as possible.
Is this where
and then
one thought on that? Could you take like here if it wasn't a source and you're just like, here is the, you know, this they're doing a site visit, they're coming next week, they're wanting this kind of information. You just drop that into the chat here and I'll mix that with the source and like help tailor this response to that, right? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Just like if you were to load up all of these, if you could load up 27 docs into a chat GPT conversation and ask the same question. Same idea.
Good.
So I'm going to even copy one of these and say, okay, I like this one. Help me create a variety, or help me, I want to say brainstorm. Also, the spelling is atrocious. Help me brainstorm a variety of ways to demonstrate this sort of impact. And I always like to do the added, like, get creative, or, you know, some sort of like, this is your permission, AI, like, have some fun. Giggle, right? How fun for us. So creative ways to demonstrate insights, not just status updates. Learned, analysis, reflects. I was really hoping it would say invite people over, or, you know what I mean? Like more creative ways to actually demonstrate impact, not just in a report. But that's okay. We're doing this live and trying to like kind of figure it out together.
Right.
So what if I want to do this?
One thing I would say on this is is a learning tool. And Cadenza, if you're looking for that end result, again, go to Cadenza. That's what it's there for. This is a way to help you understand what's going on, right? So this would be an internal impact.
Tim, do you have like a, why don't you should pop a link for,
yes. Okay. I'm going to throw a link over to Cadenza. Thank you. Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, how awesome, right? That it gave us also like, here's some alternative formats. You can do video, an interactive dashboard, which is actually really interesting. I love this. Utilize like Google/Looker Studio. Like, I see you, Google. Your subtle little nods to yourself. Oh,
I know.
I love
Good
it.
job.
So,
yeah. Like I like, yeah, it's like be promotional here. That's fine. I mean, one other thing to note on this is that of the tools out there, this is the thing that blew me away about Gemini is I didn't understand. This is just basically included with what you're doing already. There's a plus version of the AI that is better. And for nonprofits, it's really affordable, like much, much more affordable than other tools, which is one of the reasons that we're highlighting it. So anyway, all right, you can continue about the.
No, that's okay. I'm gonna, because we've got about 15 minutes left and I want to make sure I give some time to the studio section. I'm gonna pop over there and walk us through that. But since I am being bossy with you anyway, I also think you should consider while you're looking for your Credenza link, I think we should also pop in the Google for Nonprofits link so people can see if they aren't using it. There's a lot of small nonprofits that don't realize that like there's just so many free or really reduced opportunities. And so showing what the Google Workspace for Nonprofits overall has and why we're talking, like you said, why we're talking about it, because it's so affordable, so accessible, so easy to admin. It's one of the reasons why I like Google for Nonprofits, some of that stuff. So while he's doing that, as creative as you can get with like ChatGPT, with Claude, with anything, like that's what you can do with your chat, right? And anything that you love, anything that you're like, absolutely, this is what I wanted it to be. I want to be able to reference this in the future, or I want to be able to like just come back to it, save it as a note, and or convert it as a source. Chef's kiss. We love that for us. So I want to move over to like my absolute favorite piece, and the piece that like probably has everybody listening right now. Which I mean, look, unless you're here to hear Tim and I just lovely go back and forth, which is super fun, by the way.
You go for
this is the magic. So Tim had asked a good question earlier, which is sort of what are these, what's the audio overview and what's mind map? Audio overview is what we're going to get into with the deep dive and audio overview. Mind map blew me away when I first discovered it. So I do want to show everybody what it makes. So it takes all of your sources and builds quite literally a mind map of it, right? So here's the mind map of the Impact Me Foundation, right? So I click this and let me make it full screen again. And it breaks it down. So here's our, our purpose and our values. And even if we want to break like as far down as, and I didn't edit any
Oh my
of this.
gosh.
Like this is
That's
insane.
Incredible. Can you edit that?
Every time I do it, it did that. I didn't do any of this. Like this is literally just from the source. I don't even know if I can edit this, to be completely honest.
I don't think that you can, which is fine. I don't know why I would want to, but
talk about like that listening that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, like the ability to like, what is this saying about my org? If I've got a big core belief that just isn't reflected in the mind map, that's probably a problem, right? Like it's not showing because it's not evidence in your sources in what you're doing. And so, I mean, it's just crazy how far down and this is 27 sources, right? Like your average handbook has more than that.
Oh my gosh,
and I will say, I did develop quite a few policies, as you can tell. So I'm sure that's feeding into a few because
is that fun for you? Like, do you love making policies? Oh my gosh.
Oh yes. So like, here is the mind map.
No wonder you and Jennifer Owens get along great. Yes. And I now like completely understand that. Like,
oh yeah. Jennifer and I can nerd out with the absolute best of them in some of this stuff. So yeah, I mean, here's the completely extended open mind map of the Impact Me Foundation. Incredible.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, it's just wicked awesome to see.
Right. Yeah. And to your point, I think it's easy to not understand this, but if you're looking to understand how you show up in the world, throw it here and just start asking it questions, and it can give you, it could give you a lot of information about your customer experience and how you're presenting publicly, right? Which I think is really, really interesting. So, especially with the search function, which that discover function combined with a mind map is just really intriguing, right? So,
it's
all right, cool. This is amazing.
Okay, so I've shown you notes. I've shown you how to convert notes to sources. I've shown you what sources we've loaded. I've shown you how to do the RAG model. We've demoed a couple of these sort of like pre-curated notes here. I am so excited to show you sort of like my favorite part of Notebook LM, which is that deep dive. So I'm going to zoom out here just a smidge so you can kind of the screen that you would see if you were to come into the org. And so what you see right here when you initially log in is actually going to show like what you see on the screen here. So it's deep dive conversation. You can customize and generate it, right? So I almost asked you to help me remove that overlay because I had no idea how to figured it out, people. And so because it takes about a minute or two to load, I preloaded a prompt to customize it. You have 500 characters. And so I will put this in the chat, or I'll make sure that we've got this on the YouTube and in the LinkedIn live comments after the fact. But basically what I always try to do is like tell them who their audience is and what you want to get out of the deep dive. So this will apply if we go through like the onboarding piece as well. But right now I wanted to say like, you're speaking directly to our donors. We've done this before and we realized we needed to add in the phonetic pronunciation of Impact Me. Otherwise it says, I think Impass Me or something. It's very odd.
Yeah. Right.
And we'll see. I haven't heard it yet. I just read the transcript, so I have no idea if they got it right. So we'll find out. And you're limited with 500 characters. So I really put in, I want you to introduce our mission and vision and share how we build, so share how we do X, highlight our core values and our real impact, and end with an invitation, as any good fundraiser would tell you, like, always end with an invitation to understand their support and how it impacts the mission overall. So What I love about that is it really highlights very succinctly who this is and what you want them to do. If you don't want this to be sort of like an ask and you really truly just want this to be like, here's your little impact podcast, I would definitely recommend then staying away from like making it feel like a thank and an ask. This is more like a here's an update on our programs type impact audio report. So it does have that ask at the end. But I just want to clarify, as someone who comes from stewardship, I really want to clarify that you need to be very clear in what your intentions are and don't do the thank and ask at the same time if it's truly gratitude for a specific action.
Mhm.
But so then you hit generate. It takes just a couple moments and it's got this wonderful overview. Now, Tim, I am sharing my screen. I'm going to hit play. You're going to have to tell me if you can hear though, because I don't know if there's a separate button I have to hit to share audio.
Oh, yeah. Good question.
Find out.
Welcome, everyone, and a really special welcome to you, the incredible supporters of the Impact See Me
That makes one
Foundation,
of us.
or Impact Me, as we say.
Yes, hello.
Pause. How is it I can't hear it and you all can? This is
Oh,
wild.
that's crazy. It's weird because it said the name and
Oh, did
then said it correctly.
Oh,
Yeah,
Well,
no, it's really interesting. I don't know why
That's
you can't hear
hilarious.
it. That is crazy. It
well,
might be
lucky for
no,
us,
anyway,
I free
I don't know.
downloaded the transcript so I
Okay,
could
all right, so
like,
you can follow it.
go
Right,
to
cool.
specific things and show. So like right around here, it's going to be talking about our mission.
Formally is. Impact CME partners with nonprofits and mission-driven organizations to build confidence, clarity, and care into every single process and platform.
And there's a key piece right there in the mission statement. This idea that equity is a system design choice. It's not an afterthought.
Exactly.
That's where AI told me to pause it when I was done talking about our mission. So hopefully that made sense to all of you because
Yeah, no, it was great. This is a good spot.
Thing, which I think is hilarious.
So when you go back and listen, you'll laugh at it. Corrected itself and it got the language right, and then it like messed it up again. So, like,
love that for us.
It's great. Anyway,
I mean, hey, technology is definitely still innately just technology, right? Like that's such a good thing to point out, though, that no matter how much we can put in, no matter how much prepping we can do, there still needs to be that human element of understanding what we're putting out into the world and adjusting as necessary.
Okay, after working with Notebook LM and these podcasts for a while, I wanted to throw out one of the ways to make this practical and useful for teams, right? So after you listen to about 10 of these, you start to catch the patterns on how they hand the idea back and forth, right? Which is not a problem. Like that's fine. It's, it's AI and it's going to like run in patterns like all of us will. What I think is really interesting, and I didn't know you could do this until you started showing me this, is that you can focus that on different areas and different things, which means that you can only have one downloaded at a time, or like one that's loaded at a time, but you can download the previous ones. So you really could create a playlist, right? Where you have it, talk through, you could point it at one job description. If you're doing this, if you're using this for onboarding, and have it talk through that. You could have it point to one program and, have it talk to that. If you're sponsoring something and you want people to get a heads up on the, program that they're going to be sitting through, the tracks that they're going to be at a conference, there's just so many ways to point this, download it, create a little spotlight for that thing, and then send it off ahead of time. Right.
And then here's another kicker, right? I can now upload audio files to my sources.
What?
So
wait,
that's
is that new?
Newer.
That's
so
not that's new. Okay.
I think it's new. Otherwise, I just never noticed it. But
I don't think it was multimodal before. Can you do images as well? I'm really curious about that.
Not do images. You also can't do Google Sheets, which I find very weird.
Wait, what?
Yeah, only docs and slides.
Okay. What if you convert a Google Sheet into a PDF? Will it understand the tables?
Yep.
Then okay, all right. I'm confused.
It probably won't understand. I'm sure it has something to do with formulas and just the data side of it, because it reads from a PDF. It reads like the OCR.
Yeah.
One last thing that we will we'll have to add to another, because I can't hear it, which means I can't really help demo this very well. There is this beta mode, this interactive mode, where you can quite literally have a conversation with the AI, right?
Oh.
So I'm going to try something really quick.
Welcome, everyone, and a really special welcome to you, the incredible supporters of the Impact Me Foundation, or Impact Me, as we say.
Yes, hello. We're so glad to be talking directly with you today.
We really wanted to sort of pull back the curtain a bit, give you an inside
can
look
I
at the work we
interrupt
do,
you?
our mission, our vision.
Hey,
Oh, wait. Someone wants to join.
Second,
Hey,
loading.
go for it.
Can I interrupt you for just a moment? And can you just slow it down really quickly and explain to me who you guys are and maybe why we're here talking about the Impact Me Foundation?
Absolutely happy to.
Yes, please jump in anytime.
So we are podcast hosts,
Is it
and
doing
this is
it?
a special interactive
still can't
podcast
hear
It
host for
is.
you.
Yeah.
Think of us as your audio
I'm like,
companions,
I don't know where we're
exploring
at, what
interesting
I
topics
interrupted.
together.
And
I was hoping
today
I
we're
could
taking
catch
a
it on my
deep
phone.
dive
I
into the
couldn't.
No,
So-
it's doing a good job,
Foundation.
actually.
Or as we sometimes say, Impact.
So
Yeah,
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 that you
yeah,
can
it just
actually have a
kinda started over.
conversation with it, right? Wild.
Okay, so Sesame, I don't know if you've seen this AI Sesame that is like the best interactive conversationalist that AI that is out there that I've seen. It's a couple months old, it's in beta anyway. It's not at that level yet, but
Mhm.
all of this AI stuff, just give it 6 months, right? Like that's the thing. Just give it 6 months. Okay, we've got to wrap. I want to just
Yeah, I'm gonna
talk
pull us
about
off.
two things. So first of all, Sammy, thank you so much
Yes.
first for just introducing me to Gemini and the amazing tools that are available in it. I really had just kind of overlooked it and been like, yeah, I don't like it as much as ChatGPT and Claude. And so at some point we will talk about where it shines and where
Mhm.
Claude and where OpenAI ChatGPT shine. So
Mhm.
thank you for that. Second, we're going to be here next week at this time talking about more about how you set this up, what you can do with it. We feel like Notebook LM is such an important way of using this. In the meantime, hit us up with any questions you've got about Notebook LM and Google Gemini in general, and we will log those. We've got 12 episodes planned. 10 of them are with our specific instructions with Gemini, and then the last two are kind of show and tell and what's next. So stick with us. We'd love to do that. And then for those of you that are interested, we'd love to invite you to join the Upskiller community if this is stuff that you really are interested
I'm so
in.
glad you
And
mentioned that. I wanted to make
great.
sure we talked about that. Sorry. I want to be able to say like this is actually where Tim and I first sort of like got on fire for these. And what I love about our Upskillerator group is it is a much more like you would essentially get a version of what we just did, but we would do it together and then kind of like stop, pause, learn together, figure it out together. If someone's got questions or wants to explore a new tool, like Tim and I basically, he looks at it and he says, all right, let's learn it next week. Like, let's figure it out. So the Upskillerator is just like a fun and it's weekly. So I love that like every Wednesday at lunch, I know I'm hanging out with the Upskillerator group and we're going to learn. I think last week we introduced Descript. We're going to keep going on Descript this week. So it's just kind of whatever we want to learn. And I'm just glad that you put it up there because I didn't want us to miss that spot because that's like one of my favorite parts of the week. And I make sure that like, I don't even schedule stuff over it, which is kind of wild because I'm a big, like, I don't want to use my lunches and stuff like that. And I have such a blast with our group. So, and I've told a lot of my group about it as well.
It is a high point of my week. I'm facilitating some learning there, but we are all upskilling together. And it is not like I've got all of this figured out at all. So if you'd like to join, please come. We'd love to have you there. It's $20 a month or pay for the whole year for $200. And you get access to all of the prior recordings as well. So we would love to have you join that. If you got any questions about that, feel free to hit me up. You can see some of the episodes that we've looked at in the past. So yeah, we'd love to have you. But stay tuned to this channel. We'll be here next week. We're going to be talking about Notebook LM. And then after that, we're going to dive into gems. We've got a whole thing planned. Can't wait for it. Sammy, thank you so much. Such a great job. And thanks everybody for joining.